Altbays Show is live, brought to you by Altbays.nz. If you're watching this show, you are on YouTube. If you are on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to our channel to support the platform. We are a podcast, so you will find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music. Amazon, hey. What's his name? What's the name of the guy?
Jeff Bezos.
Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos is invited to come to our show whenever you want, man. New Zealand. There we go.
He's giving away all this money at the moment.
I heard that.
Not all of it.
Not all of it, hey.
Dolly Parton got 100 mil.
Really?
Dolly Parton, 100 mil. She's full on to charity, so I think she was given 100 mil to do as she saw fit with for charity.
How do we get in line?
I think we first have to make a lot of money through hard work, demonstrate a long career, decades worth of giving, and then maybe we'll make a list.
So to get
Dolly
money,
Parton's list, though, or Jeff Bezos'
Jeff Bezos' list.
so you're saying that, like,
list.
to get money, I would have to make money.
Make money first to then get money.
But that kills the purpose of wanting money if I'm going to make it anyway.
Well, that's what Elon Musk said, didn't he? Just recently said, how do you make a small fortune? He said you start with a big fortune. And that's pretty much his Twitter at the moment.
Is that what he said? You start with a big fortune.
Yeah, he thinks he's only going to make a small fortune out of Twitter.
His father was like after diamonds in Africa, wasn't it? Something like that?
Well,
like,
I'm not sure.
There was a story like that? Like that was his dad's job?
Well,
to
are
do mining?
you blaming Elon for his dad's
I'm just
actions?
saying that money always comes from somewhere.
It does seem to. It's hard to make your self-made money, isn't it?
I think by definition, money has to come from somewhere.
It has to come from somewhere, from the ground, from exploiting people sometimes as well.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. One of those two. What about the World Cup? Do you guys watch soccer? Who are you, by the way? Can you tell who you are for the people who are listening and can see your face?
Hello.
I'm Fabian Roberts.
You're Fabian Roberts and?
I'm Brad Soanes.
Thanks so much for
So
coming
you
to
find it's pronounced Soanes. The World Cup, though, yeah, I watched it on the news today. The ceremony, the starting ceremony.
Yes.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
Is this the thing that's in Qatar that everyone's been criticising for? I don't know. Are they criticising?
Yeah, well, homos
women's rights?
it's illegal to be a gay over there. Excuse my French. It's illegal to be gay there, so there's a lot of protesting going on. There's a new Kiwi guy who put $20,000 through a wood chipper in protest today. I've seen it on the news as well. I think it's fair enough to protest about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just is that the effective way? I suppose you're not damaging anyone else, but isn't it illegal to destroy currency?
Couldn't care less.
Legal tender. And I think homo is Latin. I think like we're Homo sapiens.
Yes. What I meant to say was gay.
And
Old habits.
and I think a lot of people died when they were building the stadiums, the
really?
arenas. Yeah, so that was another thing. Because that's
jeez.
that's common practice from what I understand. Like sometimes they want to lift some places by putting these big events, but like they just get rid of all the bad things around it. So for example, in Brazil, there was a big deal with the slums, for them to not go down, how they say, like, because they are at the top of the hill, so like there were a lot of deals with the drug dealers and the people who live in the slums, so like to not make a mess during the games, but at the same time they also swept off a lot of the homeless around those places, and like people were seeing these vans and bus like full of people just like kind of going to who knows where.
They make like new slums,
Wood chippers.
in a different
To take to
in a
different
different
places,
area. They
yeah,
take them away. Yeah, yeah. That Qatar thing's pretty interesting. I didn't realise that gays were banned illegal in that country. So they were showing quite a few people. I think it was England. They were wearing some rainbow heart patches that they wanted to wear, and they were just sort of like, oh, well, we'll probably get in trouble by FIFA or whatever, but they were like, fuck it, it's worth it. So.
I heard that they, was it yesterday morning, the day before, they announced they're not going to sell alcohol anymore. I think Budweiser had the contract and they pulled it so that, the millions of fans that had booked these holiday World Cup packages, now they have to be dry packages. Wow. So all these football fans that can't get pissed. I think it was 4 hours before the games, they were allowed to go out to all the pubs and bars, and 1 hour post-match they'd be selling alcohol and then stop. in the town that the tournament will be on at that time.
Is that a dry country? Or?
It's Muslim, so
okay.
no drinking.
So they open exceptions.
There was going to be an exception. I think they pulled out the exception 3 days before the start, so a couple of days ago. I haven't really followed it. I'm talking out of my ass here.
But like, even if we don't know the details, like if you're gonna put a big sports event, that's when things get very, very mixed up, isn't it? Because like, if you see from the perspective of putting people together, it's not nice to be in a country that already excludes a lot of people. But then when it comes to the alcohol thing, it becomes a different problem because you want people to celebrate. So like, you think it's fine for them to consume alcohol, but at the end of the day, it's a sports thing. So it kind of makes sense that you don't attach the idea of the sports with alcohol, right? So it gets a bit like, what's your take on that?
If you're in a country that doesn't have alcohol and it's a religious practice and the government deems that it is a religious country, then they should trust their citizens that continue to not drink even though they're in that environment. I mean, it's sort of an insult to your own people if you don't trust them to, abstain from drinking, even when drink is available. I mean, surely the black market's full of alcohol and there'll be whatever going on, but the old concept of saying, we can't have it because of X, Y, and Z to do with our religion. Well, surely if your religion is, actually heartfelt and held together, it shouldn't make a difference. But maybe they're showing holes in their belief system.
Yeah, but like I'm guessing are they a democratic country? I'm guessing, like they voted in their leaders, right?
They have
no comment.
They have the shakes, right?
I've got no idea.
Do you know, Taylor, how it goes?
No one knows.
It's less likely to be a voting system. Do you want to ask your cell phone?
Oh, whoa!
That was amazing. You made one of the most amazing questions to
Can
your
you
phone.
just ask it in the stupidest way possible to see what we get to?
It wasn't stupid. Oh, hang on.
Like Qatar leaders, people, what happens with religion, yo? Something like that.
Is Qatar a democratic country? Ruled by the House. It's a semi-constitutional hereditary monarchy. Ooh, yikes.
Yeah, it doesn't sound good.
Well, at least it's got semi-constitutional. That sounds all right, but
semi-hereditary is not a good mix.
So yeah, I agree with you. Then I do agree. I was going to say, if it was democratic, you've essentially voted your people in, and they would sort of like put your rights and your laws into place. Like if it makes sense in a probably a 90% Muslim country that you can't drink and so on and so forth. Doesn't make it right though. I mean, not the drinking, but the homosexuality part. Banning that's obviously a violation of human rights.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's absurd. But
it's absurd, and then it get mixed up with, as I said, an event that is meant to be inclusive, right? You want
it's a World Cup, so the world should be coming together. Like, fuck, it's the opposite. It's the World Cup, except for anyone you may know that is different to us.
Well, they've got women referees this year, first time.
Oh yeah.
Baby steps.
I saw a black woman on the TV. So
is that related to the referee statement? Or?
Yes, it is.
Oh, good.
Because it started today, right? The World Cup, is that right?
Yeah.
Today, yesterday?
Qatar got absolutely smashed by. No, I don't know what smashed is in soccer.
1-0.
No, I think it was 2-0 or something.
Whoa.
By Ecuador, I think it was. Yeah, they were all gutted. All of the they were in their they've how they wear the white like turban and white stuff, and they were all like this, looking down at the ground. And it was but that was the first time they've been in the World Cup, but they were allowed to get automatic entry as host country. So yeah,
sweet.
Apparently.
Brett, is it that time of the year that the traders are all going crazy and complaining that people keep asking them to have their houses ready before Christmas? Are we there yet?
Yes, we absolutely are. Yeah.
We are.
Yeah, because our trades are towards the end of the building process, like plastering and painting, but you still need time to do tiling, all the flooring, carpet laying, all that sort of things after us. So pretty much if we haven't painted your house yet, you almost have got no chance to be in by Christmas, is sort of generally the thing. If we're not in your house right now painting, then it's pretty much too late.
But is it because people have an expectation that it will be done, or is just when you seal the deal, you say, "Oh, we'll try"?
Yeah, well, some of the more established builders, they might have theirs so that they would be like, okay, we'll have you in by Christmas, and but some of the other ones they might have run over. So some of them might be like, oh, we'll probably have it finished by whatever October, but then they couldn't get some doors for 6 weeks or something, which has happened on one of our jobs. They didn't get them for like 6 weeks, and so it just pushes it right out to Christmas all of a sudden. And they haven't promised to be in by Christmas, but that expectation was already there that you'd be in because you were going to be finished in October or whatever, and now it's been pushed out. But some of them are like, no, we'll have it done by Christmas, and then they're really like stressing at the moment because there has been delays like for everybody over the last couple of years, you know.
Got to tell you, as a consumer, I had the wonderful Taylor, the man behind the screen there, the ghost of our program, and he came over. Sorry, the Wizard of Oz is saying, carry on. He is pretty good, the man behind the curtain. We should get him a curtain. We don't have to look at him. It's a good idea.
No, he's not.
But when he came in to help me out, paint my living room, ceiling and walls, and for me it was 12-hour days for 3 days to do one room with, you know, some hallways and then a stupid little bit of corridor that had 4 door frames in it. But realising the amount of prep, the sanding took so long and smelled awful. All the primer layers, the base layers, the oil layers. It just took so long. Like 3 days and we finished a room.
Did you not why don't you just paint over what was already there, like normal DIYers do?
We had some pretty horrible fly poo on the ceiling. We inherited some fly poo and accumulated our own in the first 2 years.
Did you do any painting while lying down?
Yes. I think you know this.
Yeah, I got a photo of you lying down while painting.
Yeah,
or maybe you weren't even painting, or maybe you were just lying down.
My body's really not made for trades, and I think at that point, it might have been the second day after about 8 hours, and I'm just on the ground. I was still painting. I just didn't want to move 95% of my body.
Yeah, 8 hour days are pretty hard for a teacher, eh?
Really hard. Like physically moving my body. I'm so used to sitting still and contemplating life.
Yeah, I see that a lot.
So I was going there after asking the tradies routine at the end of the year. Like, are teachers slowing it down now, Fabian, or the pressure with like reports and all that stuff is still pretty full on until like the week before the last?
It's a big mixed bag because the seniors are out, but then, you know, those that are really nervous or motivated or change their minds on careers, there's a lot of senior years pressure on. The exams are on, or they want to do some assessments they decided not to do, but have realised they may need them to catch up on something. So you see a lot of students in the library. Every day the library's full of kids working, even if they don't have exams. So that's quite cool to see.
That's good though,
You noticed that he said students are working, not teachers, right?
Yeah. So what are you teachers doing?
And my teaching load hasn't really changed. I think it went up a bit.
As an employee of the people.
I think the pressure's on in terms of, you know, as a teacher, relationships are key. You want to know your kids at the beginning of the year, so you open some good programs, and then you sort of have to go, all right, but now you need all your ducks in a row. Where's the data? Where's the analysis of the data? Everyone's got to put all their information up the tree, up the food chain.
It's so much
and
paperwork.
then all of it goes to the government, and then there's reviews and there's checks and there's like random checks they do every year for moderation. Like, let's see how these guys did in this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. You have 2 weeks to give it to us. And then they'll assess how well you assessed it or whether your task was right. So there's a lot of just making sure that what you did at the time was right, and then that you're able to put it all in one place, in one format. So it's all printed, it's all signed, it's all dated. The students are aware of it. Because even the other day, I was double checking, printing off and signing all my sheets. And I went online to make sure that what I was reading was written. And I had inadvertently touched the keypad.
Yeah.
And I tapped the wrong button on the grade screen. And I turned one student's mark into the wrong mark. I turned them into a fail just by tapping a button. They had an excellence. I tapped a button, and the next option is not achieved, merit, excellence, not achieved in that order. So I just tapped it by trying to like just get to the next bit. Luckily, I caught it. That's why I did the.
So how many people have you given lower marks to, do you reckon, over time?
I think none, because you have to check it. I think none. Yeah. You have, because again, that was the fourth check. It was the paper check. It was the check. Yeah.
That was the description that I put on the show. Who works more?
Tradespeople.
Trades or teachers, because I see
primary teachers probably might work up there with trades, but I doubt high school teachers do.
But I put it as a way not to be not to steer not to steer it, but like because I think they're very different in the way that you consider like what kind of work you're putting. Because traders and teachers, they will make fun of each other sometimes. Like they will tease each other.
Wait, what?
I definitely tease.
You make fun of me?
I tease teachers all the time.
Man, they do.
Wow.
But
Because you got the cruisy hours, you know.
We
And
do
the- and
get
the-
massive holidays.
And all the holidays and
Oh,
the
geez,
periods off to apparently do whatever you guys do in those periods off. Go to downtown or something.
but then what I noticed after working with teachers is that the mental health, like the work that they have to put that consumes their brain, sometimes it takes much more than what the tradies would do, because tradies go and just drink and do whatever they have to do. I'm not saying that teachers don't drink, they might drink even more. But there's that thing of still keeping track of all the things that they have to do.
Yeah,
They worry like more.
Yeah,
I would say. Would that make sense?
I do agree. Yeah, because tradies have to do that, but only if they are in a position where they would have to. You know, where they're running jobs or something. Otherwise, most tradies go home and forget about their work until the next day. You know.
I also think one of the things in terms of tradies, and I'm going to put some words in your mouth, and please throw them right back if they're wrong.
Okay.
But
I'll just look.
much of the job will be similar for you. Much of the job would be similar, as in there may be 30 different ways to paint like general houses. Is there more
You've nailed
possible
it.
ways? But say in terms of teaching, the equivalent in terms
the same
of
every
when
year,
you're
right?
painting, instead of having one stay-at-home mum sitting there watching you, waiting you, like looking at you do nothing, you'd have 25 at a time, and they'll be nitpicking everything you did.
I couldn't be a teacher. I'll give that to you. I hassle you because you guys decided to get into that job, right? I didn't force you to do it. And then you just go, oh man, you know, we could do with some more money or whatever. And it's just like,
That's an odd one.
you're already making so much money per hour. It's like phenomenal. But I would never do your job. Like, I take my hat off to you. You guys are.
But Brett, I think that's where I wanted to bring that up, because wouldn't it be easier for the working class, because I see teachers and tradies as working class, wouldn't it be easier if instead of criticizing, they were both kind of like, you know what, we should all be getting paid more, because we are the foundation of a community. Teachers are the foundation of the behavior of the community, and the builders are the foundation of like the well-being of people. So like, that's why I get upset when I see one. I know that sometimes it's just a joke thing, but some people are not joking.
I'm sometimes absolutely not joking, but most of the time I'm joking.
I think one of those
Sometimes
things
I'm
about non-contacts, I remember when, say like during that production year we had last year, I remember at some point in term 3, I don't think I'd taken a break that year to eat or go to the bathroom. And I ended up having stomach ulcers. I was in hospital in Thames. And this year was a massive mental effort. I think I try and go to the staff room at least once a day and sit down and have a moment to not, because again, the kids leave and you got to write up some pastoral entries or put in some grades, or you got 6 emails and you got to do it, and then you're back for another class and you haven't breathed, you haven't weed, you have no drink of water. And so the intention of all those non-contacts, and of course if people are away sick, naturally we do our part, support each other, we cover each other's classes and do the best we can. So it's an odd one that I've seen. Primary teachers, as you say, they work the whole time. They're on duty almost every break, making sure that, you know, because they know their kids well, it's great for them to be present on duty, but it's a lot of time. And Sundays, the primary teacher car park is always full, and that blows my mind how much they have to do, because they do every subject, indoor, outdoor, reading, writing, maths, and they report all of it. And then there's that new social media apps. So teachers and
Facebook.
No, it's like ones to connect to your children's parents, your classroom students'
Class Dojo.
parents. That stuff, yeah. And so there's a link at home, and the addictiveness of teachers just to want to go, oh, here's a cool thing I'm going to send on Monday, get your kids to do on Monday. And then they're at home at work now on their phones.
So
That's
like,
frustrating.
I've talked to quite a few teachers, and one in particular, my best friend's missus is a primary school teacher, and every time I go to their house on the weekend when I'm visiting, she's working like 100% of the time. She's always working, and we have this sort of, she's loves debates and we disagree on a lot of things, so we have these sort of big debates about stuff, and I'm like, what would you guys want though? Like, because you always hear about the teachers and they're striking for more money, and I'm like, what do you actually want though? And she's like, we don't. A lot of us don't want more money. Most teachers don't want more money. They want help. You know, they want more. They would rather have a teacher's aide or something to help with the workload. You know, because more money doesn't help with the workload. You're still starving yourself and giving yourself stomach ulcers like you. You know.
I've been at many of the union meetings, and the heads of the PPTA or the committees that have put together agendas, they say, these are the head agendas we want you to vote on. And they give you options of like, we want a pay increase of X, Y amount, or we want working conditions of this much, or we want this much guaranteed leave or downtime or time off or non-contact hours.
More leave.
And all of us are like going, I don't think I've ever seen anyone go, we've got enough money, haven't we?
Yeah.
Like, I think...
Because no one's got enough money apart from billionaires, you know.
But again, I think the thing that I worry about is money is a beginning teacher starts on half of the top of the scale. Mm-hmm. And so there's so few. Like, why would you go, oh, you want to be a teacher? Yeah, you make 50 grand a year. 50 grand? Wasn't that what they were making 12 years ago? Yeah. 50 grand a year. When I started, it was 48 grand a year. It's now 50, 51, 52. Mm-hmm. So my thought is like, can't we just, head honchos, can we just get rid of those bottom half steps and start them from 70 grand a year? Then you get some young people in. But they leave. It's and how can you live in Whiri? The rental situation we know is ridiculous in most places. You can't afford to rent on 50 grand a year and then pay for food.
You might be surprised though, like I'm guessing all of your friends, I'm guessing a lot of your friends are probably teachers, and well, a lot of people you might talk to about this sort of stuff would be, just like a lot of people I talk to, my friends aren't necessarily tradespeople, but the people I talk to about money and stuff are tradesmen, right? And our pays are all semi-equivalent as yours might be as well. But $50,000, even though might seem like it's not a lot of money, that is probably like not far off the median wage, right? Like
the minimum is what at the moment? It's 23 per hour?
Like that,
or that's the living wage?
I think that's the minimum. Yeah, I think it's the living. I think the minimum is 21.
If you want Leo's phone password, it's a backwards N, back to front N.
I've seen it too. I thought
the kids, they do like this, and they can see my fingerprints on the thing, and they know.
All I'm saying is that people do survive on $50,000 and less. But yeah, I see what you're saying. To bring in more people to the fold, you need to pay more, right?
The average age in New Zealand is like 50 something. I mean, for an average aging workforce, it's insane.
That's minimum wage.
That's minimum wage per year because it's 40 weeks, right?
Yeah, and so coming as a teacher, you're on 6 grand or 8 grand more than the minimum.
44,000
for the stress you put through. But like again,
that's pretty. So if you worked a 50-hour week, can you do that 21 times? Oh, yeah.
So just a basic math here. For those that are listening, there's a cell phone out on the calculator setting, and Brett Soanes.
So minimum wage at a 50-hour week is $54,000. All right, I take it back. I'm wrong. It's shit. $50,000 a year is shit.
And that's before tax.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a low. And so I remember a couple of years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
You're right and I'm wrong. I'm practicing saying that.
Oh, it's lovely. I was right and you were wrong, but I respect you completely. And there's no hard feelings.
Oh, good. Thank you.
We did all right?
Wow, what a beautiful night.
So, like, because I got my student loan, which is hopefully getting rid of that soon. I'm hoping maybe 2 months, maybe 3 months. I was hoping to do it before Christmas, not working out. But once my student loan goes, 3-4 years ago, I was talking to Max at school, and he's on top of the scale, and I wasn't. And I had a student loan. And we looked at our pay slips, and because I was getting, are my sick days right? That sort of conversation, because he's done that stuff before. And I think he was earning $1,100 more a fortnight than me.
Jesus.
And he's like, what, is that all you're on? He's like, what's going out? Oh, student loan, it's $320. Goodbye, student loan. And then I was so far in the scale, he's like, oh, next time we go to the pub, because he didn't know.
What he's going to pay for your beers.
But like him being at the top of the scale, even though he knew, looking at my pay slip, he went, whoa, it's unbelievable. What a difference.
That's a big difference.
It's a huge
It's
difference.
not $200.
No.
Like, it's...
You're talking, okay, that's rent. Yeah, if you're renting, that's your rent plus.
Yeah.
So what New Zealand does actually give to parents? Is there a money for each child? Is like a support money, or do you have to apply? Is it for everybody?
Oh, you mean the New Zealand government?
Yeah, sorry, New Zealand government.
Yeah. Yeah, it should come automatically, But you do usually apply for like working for families if you're a working
So you
family.
apply.
So
for
if
it.
you're lower, if you're a lower
you apply,
income family,
you just make sure the IRD knows what the children that are under your care, because that might not be so obvious to the IRD. For example, I've got 4 children. I've got 3 at home at the moment, but one of them could easily be with their mother, and the IRD doesn't know, because I would pay child support directly to the parent, like not through their IRD. So the kids could live anywhere in this day and age of the family structure, you know. So all you basically have to do is tell the IRD where the children are living, and then they pretty much will work out what you earn. And so if you're on wages, that's easy. It all just goes through the books. But if you're self-employed, you tell them, and then they work out what
So
you get.
is that a threshold? Like, is that an
Absolutely,
amount
there's
of
a
money
threshold.
per year?
I've never had anything like that.
How
Tara
many
and I-
children have you got?
2.
Yeah, you might get like $5 a week or less.
I've never
might
even
not
heard
even-
of this.
So
You
it,
haven't heard of it?
No.
so it depends on.
Oh, your partner works too, though, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah, well, definitely well over
I
there.
think we're
Yeah.
never going to be eligible just because we both worked.
Yeah, okay. So like for 3 children, the threshold might be 100K or something like that, or 110K a year, and then you're earned over the threshold and it's cut off. But it gets like less and less and less, you know, as you get closer to that threshold.
Okay, so they
Yeah.
check how much the couple
Mm-hmm.
make.
Yeah. And then they adjust it accordingly. And sometimes they might overpay you or underpay you, and then they'll give you a lump sum or a bill at the end. So like some,
That's courteous.
yeah,
Oh, by the way, $2,000. Can you bring it back?
yeah. I've been hit with like where they've gone. You've had to. So when I was self-employed, and had these are the years coming up to it, and I'm like, this is about how much I earn, and then I had a really good year, and then I was getting the working for families as well, pissing it all up against the wall. And then I got to the end of the year, and they were like, you owe it all back, and it was like $12,000 or something, and I'm just like, oh Christ! So you just have to, pay it. What can you do? But yeah, it's pretty good. It's always existed. It's a tax credit. So in the past, it would come. I'm pretty sure it would come off. Like you wouldn't pay tax, so it would come in your paycheck, whereas now you pay the tax you're supposed to, and then they credit it back to you into your bank account every week directly from the IRD. And you used to be able to cash in kids too, like so, because I think maybe because that family structure was so much more solid usually, where 2 parents would raise children and that would be it, you know. So if you were like, I want to cash in a kid, you could be like, well, I don't want any tax credits for the next 10 years, and they will give you like a lump sum, and you could buy a, deposit on a house or something, perhaps.
Wow. Never heard of that. That's awesome.
You can't do that now.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
What?
Why are you talking about the past, man?
Yeah, because it was better back then.
Live in the moment.
Because it was way better back then, apparently.
Back
yeah.
in my day.
What is more challenging, Brett? Raising like little ones or teenagers?
Teenagers, by a long shot.
By a long shot.
Damn.
It's coming, I think.
Yeah.
Man.
I had no idea. I was like, teenagers are going to be,
All good.
yeah. I like, how bad can it be? But nah, it's pretty out there.
Because of surprises, or just because like it also mixes with you looking back to your youth and kind of like and then you start to reflect about life as well, or just behavioral like craziness,
Yeah,
madness?
surprises, especially recently. But like I look at I don't look at them and I look at myself and how I was, and then I try and like structure my parenting like around that, so that they either do or don't end up with certain aspects of how I am now. And that's super stressful, because I'm just like constantly trying to be like, okay, I need to make them like independent and trustworthy and that they can survive in the wild, like they can cook a dinner or something and be responsible and
I
be
love
liked
that.
and be
Survive
liked
in the wild. Cook
Yeah.
a dinner. Can they turn on a washing machine?
Open a can.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and make sure that they're liked, and they got friends and respectful and whatever and all that sort of stuff. So it's sort of like it's hard. I'm sure they go through these stages, but like as hormones are coursing through their veins at the moment, and it's like they're
I thought
just
the hormones
these
was the
little
government
munters.
conspiracy.
Yeah, well, these little munters, that are like really, really testing your patience. But I find it very, yeah.
It's odd though, because you're speaking as if you're not a wonderful person, and I've only ever liked you. I probably have only ever seen you once outside of this setting, so you could be a complete asshole off the show. Off air, you seem like a nice lad as well as on air.
It's very kind of you to say.
So again, I could look back at my teenage years and go, oh, I did some dumb shit. That was dumb, but I'm a nice human. I'm a likable guy. And so I'm hoping when my son, he's full on, physically jumping, attacking, sword fights, all sorts of really energetic, aggressive play, which is really fun. And, when he's probably 14, 15, I'm assuming that's going to become, jumping off cars or, attaching a wagon to the back of a car with some rope and driving across a field. I go, I think I did that once.
Yeah, see, that's old school fun, though.
I remember attaching a couch to a car and driving through a field or a farm and then getting just smashed off the couch and flying away. I'm still a decent human being, even though I probably should have cleaned up, and I regret not cleaning up the farm after.
But nowadays, fun is like sitting downtown at 1 o'clock in the morning on the curb, smoking weed and vaping and doing nothing.
But it's been out there, right?
Playing on their phones.
But this is something that people do for a long time.
I suppose so. Yeah.
Yes, but because it's present for you as a parent, I would say, and then it becomes bigger of a problem.
I was being raised very religious. I was a pretty good teen, My wife's probably laughing right now because I'm always like, I was the perfect child and these kids, But like, I don't know. When people are like, we used to do that sort of stuff when we were kids too, and I'm like, did we? I waited until I was an adult so that I could fully. So the repercussions could really destroy my ego,
But then you rebelled.
Oh, real bad. Yeah, real bad. Yeah.
So that could be a thing as well, because maybe your kids are going through like something that for you is a bit like, but after a couple of years, it really settles, like it completely changes the perspective. Because
that's what I'm told. Yeah, I saw that with my oldest son. He's already, technically he's still a teenager, he's only 17, but he's pretty much an adult now. Like he works and he's got his house that he lives in and he's got a car and saves money and stuff. And I never thought that would happen because I was like, fuck, he's out of control. But it turns out he was, that's what kids are like. Who knew?
It's a strange illustration because you talked about the having teenagers and the thoughts about regrets or the difficulties or challenges. Me with my little kids, Leo's got no kids. What sort of baggage is he holding on to?
Still holding on to it. Yeah, true.
Like he's abstinent from that space in life because he was obviously a horror child.
Well, my mom would tell me every time that I would do something bad, she was like, one day you will have a child like you, hopefully worse.
Yeah.
And I think that was enough to traumatize someone to not want to have kids. But, and now I don't know if she regrets it, but she says, like she stopped asking if I'm going to have kids, luckily. But like, I know she feels like that.
Have you got any nieces or nephews?
No.
No?
My sister is the same vibe. She's like, nah.
So they're just like, wow. So they did that good a job of...
The marketing line has ended.
Yeah, that's it. The Magris will stop. Never seen it.
The family name ends there.
And I'm not even know like if the cousins will carry on for us. But like it doesn't bother me, the feeling of like the thought if I want it or I don't want it. I just think it's like the unnecessary stress for myself to keep thinking if I want or I don't want to. It would make sense if I meet someone and then it happens.
I reckon you put too much energy into it. Just throw it out there. Your seed, I mean.
Oh, just do it.
Just do it. Yeah. What are you making around it?
But then I have to pay for it. Then I have to raise it. I'm not one of those guys that will leave the kids behind. Maybe.
Pretty good response. Teaches you responsibility real quick and all that sort of crap. Not saying you're irresponsible. You're obviously not if you haven't got any children.
No. But there's
usually children starts with a responsibility and then you become responsible.
Yeah.
Sorry, bro.
It's a lot of responsibility. I look at you guys. I look at my friends with children, and I'm like, cool. Like I could do, but I'm not too sure if I want to do it. Like it's one of those things.
I think I would have been a very similar thinking, but the other morning I got up out of bed and I opened the door and my son was just standing there like a zombie. It happens, it terrify you. And he just said he wanted a hug. I just needed a cuddle, so I hopped back in bed and gave him a hug and just held him for about a minute. And then he just suddenly shouted out, "This is the best day ever!" And it just made my day. I had such a good day from that moment. And I don't know how to quantify that other than to say it could only have come with my own children, you know, seeing me thinking I'm the best thing ever.
Have you ever hugged another kid like that and then seen if you had such a good day? Because maybe it's not just your kids.
I'm the youngest of 6, and I was the first to have babies. My older brother Tom, he inherited my nephew Lucas through a separate partner with his current wife. So we got Lucas at about sort of 12 years old. But so I was the youngest that had babies. So I didn't really have any nieces or nephews. So I ended up being the starter.
I think it's stupid when people blame something specific for them not wanting to have kids. I think that's a bullshit excuse. You know, oh, the system is ruined, so I'm not gonna have kids. Nah, just say it that you don't want kids or you're not ready for them. You know, it's too easy to make excuses saying, oh, that's not for me. So I feel like that's my vibe.
Would you put I'm not bringing children into this disgusting world in that same category?
I don't feel like that, because by working with children, I'm a optimistic, you know, like I believe that it makes, and to be like, without being judgmental, but like sometimes I feel like people without kids in this fucked up system that we live, they are more prepared to look after a bunch of kids, because when you're a parent and you have a million responsibilities, you get caught up in looking after your kids and you don't give a fuck about the other ones. So like sometimes, again, not saying that it's a general truth, but like when you don't have one, you kind of look at all of them like, oh, cool, let's see what we can do and support all of these, you know, because I've seen great scenes of like one parent playing with their kids and the other one is like stumbling and they're kind of like, oh, like a bit oblivious to what's happening around them. But again, not blaming their father. It's just too much going on.
Yeah, and they have tunnel vision too, eh? It's not, maybe not they don't care about the other kids, it's just that, you know, evolution's probably made us in a way where we focus so much on our own spawn, you know, to make sure that they ain't gonna
but a lot of
get bitten by a snake or some shit.
Yeah, but know? Like, but if you go back, like tribal people, the word father was not present in a lot of them because, you know, it was like a community.
Yeah, and that's a societal norm though in that area, eh? You know, which we have
but
obviously lost
it's also
through
very common
civilization.
in the animal kingdom. I don't think it's just like, you think about bacteria. Is there a father or a mother? No, it's just doing its job. Genetic spread. So I think that the opposite is true. There's more of a concept now of rearing your offspring as opposed to not rearing your offspring.
And that's why, like, I think that's a great excuse and a good point to believe that the universal income should be a thing. Because, like, if you have a little bit of money that helps you with that to raise a family, it would make much more sense that humanity would be happier, because like it's not fair that some people are more prepared than others to look after a child, because if you look as just a human, we're supposed to breed and to carry on. But then a lot of people get put off because exactly of what I'm saying, like, oh, do I want this stress in my life? You know, like the most beautiful thing that you just said that I'm sure it is. I don't have one, but I'm sure there's no bigger love than, you know, mother and child, because I have a mother and a father, so I can kind of relate to that. But like, it's a shame when suddenly you're worried. Oh, but if I'm a father, oh man, I cannot, you know, is it going to be hard? Like, it shouldn't be hard.
I also think I'd push the opposite. The amount of people that get to 45 and they haven't, and they now can't.
You can adopt.
But again, it's different.
It's different.
Yeah.
Very different. It's not going to be a little you. You're not going to recognize the teeth, the eyes, the smile, the silly accent, the toes, the long toe.
Ugh.
That sort of stuff. You know, it's all that stuff in your kids.
But then people will deal with that feeling differently, right?
Well, again, I think when that happens, a lot of people have to deal with it.
Because like you lost your father at an early age.
I was 10.
So, you were 10. So like, you didn't have the opportunity to have that when you were 20. So like, why would you stress about it if it just didn't happen? So maybe you train yourself to not even like worry about that. Like, it would be silly of me to think, poor Fabian didn't have the opportunity to have a father to talk to. You know, like it just didn't happen. So like maybe for the people who are older without children, they don't even think about that. Maybe it's the perspective of a father thinking, "Oh, damn, I wish they had that."
I know
feeling."
people who regret not having children.
again,
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is. Yeah.
I always offer they can have one of mine because I've got,
Really?
I've got shitloads.
There's also there's whole ethical fields in the idea of if you choose
Great.
to not have kids, the kid does not exist, but the kid's potential exists. You are not guilty of murder. In the sense that, again, life is present, life is not present. If you take a life by your physical act or intentions, you've taken a life out of existence. It's murder. You've chosen not to make this life that was very possible and very easy to happen and could have happened in, for you, 30 seconds, and you'd have had this moment.
30 seconds.
Jeez. He said for you.
God.
I said for you, man.
I'm a tad under that. So is abortion murder then if the life's already been created?
I don't know. Like again, it's there's endless grey area and grey matter and that's things. So I just think the idea of not
grey matter too soon. Yeah.
not a point I want to go down. I don't want to do one of those chats.
Abortion.
Abortion, yeah.
Why not?
All right, we're going down the rabbit hole. Here we go.
Well, it's not a rabbit hole, but like you can have an opinion on it, can't you? Do you have one?
I suppose I do. For people that say no, you can never have an abortion.
No, we're talking about you, not them.
I would say that's absurd.
Say it again, your whole statement, please.
So, if people state that you can never, ever have an abortion, no exceptions, I think is evil in the context of there's rape in this world. There is horrible sexual misconduct that leads to that, and that leads to cycles of poverty, cycles of you get rid of education, happens to young girls all the time in the world. And to say that you can't, or to say that this person has to go and get it done illegally in an unsafe and be committing a crime, now all of a sudden they've lost a child, lost their respect, they've been sexually abused, and now they're a criminal. So that side of it, you immediately rule out the concept of all abortions are pure evil, in my books. So there are a lot of people I disagree with in the world immediately because that is held by many religious people. Many.
They'll usually have an abortion, even religious people, if it saves a mother's life, right? That's the one,
That's one of them.
The one caveat.
Yeah, well, they say that, but then it's one of those ethical things in health anyway. If, someone's dying and you're the untrained medical person and the woman's bleeding, do you go, okay, well, the woman's going to die, we'll just cut the baby out, the baby will live, but the woman's going to bleed out? Like
Vikings or
but
something.
Who's going to say that? Who's going to try and have the balls to say that over the phone to the hospital, to the consultant? What do I do here?
I would ask if it's a boy or a girl first. Thank you.
That was well timed. Hopefully those realised the laugh was ironic. And then I suppose the idea of at some point in the gestation of a fetus, it's too late in the sense that if you've had this baby almost to term, I think if you try and abort a child at 39, 40 weeks, which if birthed could completely live comfortably and safely, that I think is ethically wrong. And I think I would say it's nigh on murder if it's a full-term baby that you're just 2 days later that baby could be out, it'd be murder. 2 days before, it's a fully grown baby.
Does anyone abort like a 39-week baby though?
What I'm trying to get is there's obviously a scale. And wherever that scale is, I'm not a medical person, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a person who can get pregnant. So there'd have to be experts who actually are in the field.
Isn't it weird though that the people who defend abortion most of the time, they are pro killing thieves or, death penalties and all that stuff, so they believe that you should not exterminate a life before it becomes life, but they also believe that you cannot repair or help with one.
And the other ironic thing is that they are pro supporting that life before birth to the maximum, but as soon as the baby's born,
as soon as it's
out, it's like no, that baby's on its own. Right wing, they don't look after families as well as left wing. So it's like.
See, I thought you were going to go to the next extreme, going, that baby has a soul, it's got a life, and then it's born. As long as it's not gay.
Yeah, well, that as well.
And they draw the line.
Draw the line. Yeah. We should have allowed that one to have an abortion. Damn.
There's some horrible ideas out there. Some horrible, because again, be kind Think about the one. You can't put a blanket rule in place when there's so much nuance, so much subtlety, so many different situations.
I don't think any of the right or left would put a blanket rule on abortion anyway, right? Like, because I mean, like I said, even the people who are anti-abortion would allow one in the case of saving the mother's life. But
I would even say, Victor,
and even if you're, no matter how left-wing you are, I would hope that you wouldn't be all right with a 39-week abortion.
But again,
like, just be like, it's the mother's choice. I'm fine with it. You know what I mean? Like,
but this system of morals does not apply.
There's always going to be an extreme.
Okay, but but there are billions of people on Earth who don't have any rights because they're women. So this, what we're talking about is meaningless. There's no point in us discussing it, because even if we all agreed and all of New Zealand agreed, there's still billions of people out there who have no rights, and their children have no rights.
Can change it like one country at a time.
I think
Depends on what we're changing.
I think it's one bad idea at a time.
Yeah, well, yeah. What do you think? You pro-abortion or anti-abortion?
I'm pro-abortion.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we should be listening to women more than anything else. I think it's most of the time, a bunch of old white men making decisions, looking for their interests, like on votes and stuff, because religious people are quite majority in most of the countries. So like they always keep their speeches, like they use the words very carefully. When I believe that if you want to be a leader, you should listen to the professionals of each area. So like if the health professionals come and say, it makes sense to legalize abortion because you can save a lot of lives and you can take a lot of pressure off the social, burden that it costs a lot for these families, because a lot of people, they don't have information, so they end up having children, and that costs for a system to. So that's how I see it. People try to get votes or try to put an idea just to make some people happy when they actually don't check.
What about if someone's using abortion as their contraception?
Using abortion as contraception. Maybe there was a lack of education there.
Yeah. I mean, the problem's always lack of education, isn't it?
A lot of them, yeah. But so see, like if you keep using money for a lot of like to save things, like to fix them, but when you should be going back, like this lady was talking on RNZ the other day about like how New Zealand should be focusing on dentistry. Is that the name? Like to make it cheaper or even free. And then like they just did the maths. They're like, if we invest on this, like it will mean that in a few years, we're actually going to save a lot with health issues that people come to our health system because of their mouth. You
have to go to the hospital because you couldn't afford to go to the dentist.
Exactly. Yeah. And then we know that it's all connected. So like all the things will come from a poor mouth, whatever, hygiene or something.
It's a direct link into the bloodstream, your teeth. If you have, for example, bleeding gums or whatever,
I think diabetes, one of the causes that's being studied on a lot in the last maybe 10 years has been healthier gums, having constant sort of infections and whatnot through here, putting strain on your body over a long period of time growing up. I don't know the science of it. Save it for the experts.
See, like again, right? Like save it for the experts, like a lot of the answers. And that's why it upsets me when we see random ass people going for politics. Like I think that's a very bad idea.
You mean like Arnold Schwarzenegger or something like that?
Yeah, I think he probably did a better job than a lot of them. Yeah, I don't know, but it's just frustrating that a lot of these guys, they have no clue about a lot of subjects, which is fair, but like they cannot even choose a good team.
We had Nathan Guy, sorry, not Nathan Guy, it's my cousin, Scott Simpson on. Other politician,
my
national.
Cousin.
Sorry,
this is my cousin.
The other national politician. I think he's resigned now. I've retired. But
Scott
Nathan
Simpson
Guy. Yeah.
Sorry,
I lost train of thought now. Scott Simpson on, and I think one of the questions I might have asked on the chat at the time.
Scott Simpson was him. Oh,
I think I asked on the chat at the time was.
We all feel like we were here.
Well, it was a really interesting chat because again, he spoke so eloquently, spoke so clearly, and yet I think asked questions why there are so many like. Why are all these lawyers in government? Where are the artists? Where are the engineers? Where are the builders? Where are the teachers? Where are all these professions that are represented across any society? And instead, it's lawyers and accountants are the vast majority of our makeup. And I think he answered by going, but this person here plays piano really well and plays a mean guitar. And you're like, sure, but have they worked for their entire life in guitar, or have they done that as a hobby through private school? Like...
How do you guys see the national proposing those camps? How do you call that? Like for children?
Yeah, boot camps.
Boot camps and
Oh,
like
yeah, I heard about
children
that.
like under like up to 10 years old up, they can be punished
For
by-
naughty
like-
kids, you mean? Like instead of like a juvie or of some sort or
they're
something?
calling criminals, right?
Yeah, see, like I don't get that. Like I would really feel sorry for whoever's got a, like, say for example, like a boot camp's military, right? I'm guessing is it military? I haven't.
I think that's the general idea.
Yeah, so imagine if you're like the
Defence
sergeant
force.
major or something somewhere, and it's like, all right, you got to send all these little kids here, and you got to try and sort them out. I would just be like, fuck, bro, that's not in my job description. You know, but I'd send them to work at Mans. That'll straighten them out. Jesus.
But for me, it just feels like an excuse to pump money into something that is actually not going to fix anything. You're just going to feed a lot of hate in those kids, you know? Like, it again, it goes back to investment, because if you have a social approach, a 10-year-old has no clue what they're doing, and then you're calling them a criminal already, you know? Like, nah, the kid's not a criminal. Your system failed, and now you're trying to find a way to fix something, the quick fix that will get you what? Votes again.
Can I
you
play
know?
devil's advocate?
Oh,
And
please.
see if there's a target there. First off, I think first needs to happen is a ban on cell phones. Get rid of cell phones. Just get rid of social media and get rid of the shit that's driving a lot of behavior through likes. But ignoring that whole topic,
Fabian Show.
if it could be demonstrated that these kids going on these shows who have committed whatever the thing is beforehand, but they get on these cams and they are somehow...
Hypothetical then, what is it? A ram raid.
Sure.
Kidnapping.
Ran raid, drug use, heaps of fighting. Cool.
Rape.
I've got one. Sure.
Okay.
Are you ready? So they're now
Yeah.
on this camp. And if it could be structured that these kids get away from the environment they're already in, which is clearly toxic, if that's the situation they're in, and you can teach these kids that they can be fit and healthy, that they are capable, and they can be confident looking after themselves. Like if it's run like a good camp where they actually learn life skills.
It's military. It's not
I get
good.
that. Ignore the military concept. If these kids are getting fit and able to look after their bodies and they push themselves in a way that they don't need their phones to realize that they are competent human beings, I'm trying to find a silver lining to the idea
Yeah.
that surely, if done in the right way, something like that could be helpful to some
know
kids
what the
in
right-
some
you know what
situations.
If
the
it was
right
done
way.
the right way, I agree.
But you know what's the right way? Is to offer that before they commit.
Oh,
the crime.
of course. Yeah, again, that's why I say get rid of the situation where parents have kids on devices all day.
Sometimes it's unavoidable though. The situations in which they're raised, you know, is
You got to break the cycle, and this could be a.
But like,
you know,
and,
ow.
but going on,
don't ask them.
but going on that train of thoughts that you just said, like, so let's say you just said before that it's hard to raise teenagers, you
It
know, like,
is.
because they come up with crazy shit when you're less expected. So imagine if one of those crazy shit that they do, it's enough to be considered a criminal, and maybe it was just one slip. It's your son, got a good life, but like that thing, oh, it's in the list of crazy things, and now you're a criminal. Now you are 12 with a thing around your
Oh yeah.
your.
Is that what they'll do?
Well,
And they put a chain
it
to the
kind
next
of
kid.
it kind of goes.
Because I'm for that, if that's what it is.
What's the thing? But in
A
New Zealand,
ball and chain.
what's the name of the
Like a
device?
shackle. Oh,
No, the device that you
An
put.
anklet.
An anklet.
Yeah. For home detention or whatever.
For home, yeah.
Yeah.
So like, you know, because of something that the kid did, because they're kids and they have the hormones going crazy, and say, and suddenly they're a criminal. It's not a good label to put on someone who maybe
The interesting thing about that statement is that kids do things that are criminal all the time. My 4-year-old son might come over and just punch me in the face. You go, okay, well, you do that as an adult to someone, that's a crime. Literally, it's a crime. Or you walk into someone's house. If I take my kids to someone's house and they suddenly tip red wine on the ground for a game, oh, you do that to someone's house when you're not a grown-up, you're a criminal. So all things through development should be understood in mediation. That makes sense?
it does make
In
sense.
moderation. Like you go, like this kid's a kid, they did that thing, but they're not an adult. They don't have an adult's, they've not gone fully through puberty. Because again, your brain's still developing in your early 20s quite a bit, and
So
in that way.
that's my take on it. And you already put a label of a criminal in a teenager, even if the boot camp works.
Is
even
it for
if,
the worst of the worst though? Is that what it's for? Like, is it like, oh, you've made a mistake and you go to boot camp, or is it like,
Honestly,
well, you're making a mistake and you're making another mistake and you're making another mistake, and they're like, fuck, bro, you've done this 5 times now. You're gonna have to go to this place.
Yeah,
you know,
I don't know,
with the ball and chain, and you got to drag it around and crack rocks and shit. You know, like
good old times.
Yeah,
I would have to look on that, but it still does it matter? A 14-year-old,
maybe like how would you educate them otherwise then? I mean, I'm not saying. I mean, obviously, it's not the only option.
That's the only option.
That's the only option. We gotta, you know, because I was talking to someone at work, and he was like wanted to leave work early, like I leave school early, and they were like, "You can't leave school. You're not old enough yet." And he was like, "Well, I really want to," because he'd making some mistakes and junk. And he told me that they got him to do this like pretty much like a boot camp, but to prepare you for the world, for the real world, you know. And he went out and started working at like 15, and he became like a bricklayer, and then did something else. And I was just like, and I actually said to him, "Did it help you? Like, did it actually help you, or did you like?" Because he did it because he wanted to get away from school, right? And he was like, "No, it actually, like, he's like, I actually learned stuff that made me go."
A lot of people will get things out of an opportunity. Doesn't matter how crazy it is.
I think the military pride themselves, in like being able to educate, teach anybody, like, you know.
Fuck, when you go through fear to teach someone, it's very likely you're gonna get something out of that person. Doesn't mean that it's the best approach for their mental health, though.
I think you've got a bias here, Leo, on the framing of it. So
I'm just playing.
So if we get rid of the fear, get rid of the language of fear, get rid of the language of criminal, you go, these kids are doing things that do not fit safely in society. They're endangering themselves or endangering others in a big way. So maybe there's a system. It's not a boot camp. It's a help camp, a training camp, a get better camp, a you're the best camp,
a military training camp.
Yeah, but again, the framing is this thing. Like, okay, take it entirely away from the military and have it as
a police training camp.
No, change it to CrossFit. You have to go in a CrossFit camp. Oh, what do you have to do? You have to go and get fit, eat well, and go on massive hikes for 5 months. And then you come back going, oh, what did you do? Oh, they made us get real strong, fit, and, talk to each other.
Military training.
Poor thing.
Military training is an effective, but it is a sucky style. Like when I was in the fire service, they had their training style is militarized, and it is a dumb way of learning, but it's an efficient way of learning.
For me, it sucks because like if they're proposing that, it means that they know where the money will come from. If a government is proposing to do a boot camp, a military thing for children who are up to no good, it means that money could go towards a better public educational system.
It depends on how much
Couldn't it?
How many people, like if they say they want this fucking boot camp and it's going to have 50 people a year of these bad motherfuckers who've come from terrible upbringings, I can sort of go, in my mind, okay.
Because it's not that many.
Yeah, but if they're like, we want to put 2,000 people through this boot camp, then it's
a month.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's a little bit more, like you could put the money into preempting it as opposed to like post-production.
Can I double down on that and go, okay, say it's the 50 kids a month. The other half of the funding should be for the 50 families to get that person to investigate, to go in and help sort out the family that this is happening and to support them. They may be under all kinds of stress, financial, social, whatever. We'll get in there, help build that foundation. When the kid comes back, they're in a stronger foundation, or take some of the parents with them, help build up their foundation at home. The parents get fitter. There's an obesity endemic through our country. Help sort that in some way. Like, there's all sorts of horrible shit.
Some of these problems are like 3-4 generations old.
Yeah, so don't deal with just the ones that are doing it now.
It'll probably be quite
back.
hard yakka, It's a lot of it would come, like from their parents and their grandparents and their great-grandparents.
And then it's easy for a lot of people to say that it's my genes. No, it's your bad habits that have been coming through generation to generation, because the way that people cook influences the offspring, right?
And well, absolutely, yeah. And I mean, like, what is how you're treated as how you treat your children is how they become. That's how they get molded into the adults they become. It's like.
Speaking of humans and children and all this stuff, Fabian, what is deep fake?
Oh, geez. My understanding in this context would be deepfake software using various forms of artificial intelligence that can process heaps of data at the same time, can recreate what may have been real images or sampling real images to create images that are fake, that are not real, or video, or sampling your voice that is not the real thing. So there are several celebrities that I've seen that have had deep fakes made of them that they've had to prove are deep fakes to get taken down online because they were never at their place, they were not wearing those clothes, they didn't say those words, and yet it's been spread around the world as if this is something they've said.
Adobe makes a product that does it, that's not available yet. But I was listening to, I think it was Lex Friedman podcast, and they had an Adobe guy on there, and they showed, I think it was, I can't remember who it was, but they showed that they could take a video, and I think it was like George Bush or something like that. And it definitely wasn't Joe Biden, because he can pretty much just mumble anything and it looks like he's saying it. But I think it was George Bush, and they were like, okay, this is what he's saying, what do you want him to say? And they typed it in, and it changed his mouth as well.
Wow.
And his voice. It artificially made his voice sound the same, and his mouth changed so it was saying the words, and then just made him say anything, and it sounded like him and it looked like him.
But again, you can also then take it to the next level where you can then change, because he might be standing there, you know, talking, and he has his advisors and generals in the background. You can change how they react to it, like, oh, look, General's surprised by what George Bush said, and they've just recreated the background.
Oh, they probably were surprised too. They were like, what?
Favorite quote: "You fool me once, I'm the fool. You fool me twice. Don't fool me twice." He just yells at the camera.
And where are we going with
George
this, Brett?
Bush.
Where are we going with it?
Yeah, with
The deep fake stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's just a way of, it's just propaganda, isn't it? It's a way for them to, you know, when you...
Sorry, who's the them? What's the pronoun here? Who's the them?
Oh, no, it's literally just they, like them, like those people. You know what I mean by those people?
No,
just people, I mean.
just so deepfake is a way for just people to...
Yeah, like conspiracy theorist types can be tricked into thinking that someone said something, you know, when they haven't, and it starts something, maybe even to distract away from
It's pretty powerful.
to make it distract away from something that might be happening at the same time somewhere else, you know.
So those listening to Altbays right now don't realise that none of this has actually happened. It's all fake. We're doing all of this on a computer, typing it in, and we're doing it for the likes, you know, and all that money that's rolling in. Amen to that.
Oh, you didn't mention that in your intro. What about your thing? Your what's it called on the YouTube?
The
button.
magazine.
No, the button that you push.
The button is the join button where people can join the platform and donate. And you know how many people donate?
How many?
So far, counting you,
Counting me?
2.
Oh, me and someone else.
Yeah.
Did you see? Does my name come up on it?
Yeah. So we have a lot of people coming to
I
us
only
and
give you the minimum. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. A lot of people come to us and say, oh, cool, amazing what you're doing. How do we support you guys? And I'm like, you can go on YouTube and donate. Oh, cool.
Do it.
And it stops there.
Do you know what encouraged me to do it?
Yes.
As I saw Taylor was commenting in the comments, and it had a little picture of me next to it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I like that. I was like,
So I think we should do one of those with each person in town. Hey,
Yeah.
we should make their faces as little memes, right? So they can put.
it was cool. He was like, hey, you know, Altbays, blah blah blah, whatever he writes at the beginning. Had my little face next to it.
Yeah. So
which you can get
all
if
of
you
us.
pay.
So like as you grow your like the time that you're donating for us, you unlock the memes, so you can become Fabian, you can become Brett. We're super cool.
I will
People just
never
don't know
become
yet.
Fabian.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but that's fine.
It's fun. You'll be a meme very soon and amazing, famous. But there's a funny thing. We can finish the show with this subject because this is a cool one. We hear quite often the question of like people come to us and say, "How are you guys gonna make money? How are you guys gonna make money?" So like that question seems to bother a lot of the people more than us, and we love it actually. At the start, I was worried. The first like 3-4 months, I'm like, oh fuck, what are we doing? Like these people, all these knowledgeable people about business and shit, like asking us this question, and then I realized a lot of them have a lot of money. They're still worried about money. Like, like I can tell when it's a friend who is asking from a legit point of view of like, do you guys have a plan? I like that, you know, like you guys, you're like, what are you guys doing? Like, where are we going with this? Oh no, there's a plan here. But some people, they're like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, podcast. How are you going to make money? And you're like, oh, it's a bigger worry for you than for us. So that's helping a lot for us to actually not stop, because I see people giving up doing things in life because they don't see an instant reward out of it, you know, like, and the more that I listen, the more that I read, the more that I understand the process, the more that I play the drums, I understand that like everything takes time, you know, like it's taking my whole life to be an okay drummer, you know, like, and I'm trusting the process, and maybe I'm not even as fast as I was 10 years ago, but I'm more relaxed.
And you're thinner.
And I'm thinner, and I'm more good looking than before, and that helps.
What a thing. You're not thinner.
Don't say that, because a lot of fat drummers, man, they smashed both of us together with their drumming skills. But it's trusting the process. So like even now with the magazine, you know, like the people who were downing us, I don't know what they're doing now. Like I don't know if they're so worried about us. They must be going crazy now that we're going to take on another big thing. You know?
I don't think they're so worried. A lot of people are skeptical, you know, and they're like, oh, this'll never work, or this'll, you know, like, but a lot of people look at other things and all they see is the negative, you know?
And by doing something that relies in like collaboration, it becomes an opportunity that they miss. And that's what we try to explain to people. So like when I'm talking about the magazine and I'm explaining, because for the people who know, Coral Minds is your new local magazine brought to you by us. So it's a collaborative magazine. Like we have guest writers and we have people coming on board and putting their thoughts and putting their love there. And I'm saying, look, this is a work for the community. You know, like this is something that we're doing to put voices together, to show the diversity of this place. You know, it's not going to make a lot of profits, but it's going to create value for this area. You know, like we want this thing to be all over the country. You know, of course it's local. Of course it's going to tell local stories, but like, isn't it interesting when you listen to a cool story from who knows where? So that's what we're trying to do. And for the skepticals, like, it's fine. You don't have to support us, but like, it's a great chance to do something. Because what I'm understanding, Brett, is that expectations will ruin our lives. But like, if you get people to do one little thing that they're good at it brings a lot of gratification, you know? So like for some people, the best thing they can give is money. And it's fine. Oh, amazing. Cool. That's it. Oh, cool. Some people is like 15 minutes of their day writing something, you know, or so that's how we're thinking. We're like, what would you like to do? What's your passion? How, like, look at this. Would you like to contribute with this? Like, what are you good at? Oh, I like painting. I like whatever. Cool.
I like sleeping.
Sleeping, right?
Can I help with that?
Yeah, and then you write your experience of sleeping.
I've got to write as well.
Well, that'll be good.
Film you.
You film it.
I have some crazy dreams. I'll tell you about one.
Tell me one. Tell me one.
Oh, you want to hear my one?
A good one.
2 nights ago?
Yes.
It's...
Kids, switch off now.
No, it's not. Well,
so
I'll give you a quick, fast version of it, but it was pretty intense. It was... I showed up to this place and there was a guy who there's a thing called a Halligan bar in the fire service, and it's like a crowbar with like a spike on one side and a thing for prying open doors and stuff. And he had one of them and he was stuffing a pig down a drain pipe and hitting it in the back of the head with it, trying to get it in the drain pipe. Like a full like pink pig, you know, like this, like full size. And he's stuffing it down this thing and I'm just like, whoa, like what's going on there? And then he got that in and then he was stuffing some other shit down this drain pipe and I walked past and I was just like, fucking animals, eh? And anyway, so I carry on walking and I'm just like, whoa, that guy, you know. And I get to where my owners are and there's like this guy and this lady owner and they own me. And I pull this hair out of my arm and it's this like crazy long hair and it's got like this little robotic end on it, and I was like, that's weird. And it sort of got bigger and bigger as I played with it more, and it had these little like cogs and shit in it, and I'm just like, this is weird for like something that's come out of my body. And eventually I opened it up, and it opened like a box, and it had a hard drive on the inside, and I realized that I was an android, like a robot, and I was just like, these people like own me, you know. And anyway, this crazy guy with the pig and shit, he ended up killing this family there, like of the people who own me, like the kids, and he killed them in a way. And then he escaped, and he like slid down these scaffold stairs and took off. But he lit a fire, and this building was on fire, and the firefighters showed up, and they locked me in the room because I was just like worthless. I was just an android while they're trying to like save the people, and that really upset me. And so like I got this gun. This is the quick story too. I got this gun, and I went up to my owner guy and was just like, what the hell, man? Like, I'm an android, and you just locked me in there, and you're treating me like shit. And his brothers showed up, and I explained it to them, and they came on my side, and then the police showed up, and they took the gun, like the brothers like hid the gun so that the police wouldn't find it, and I like took off, and then I basically woke up in the morning and was just like, wow, that was a crazy intense dream. It was like living a whole lifetime as an android in one night. So that's one night's dream for me, 2 nights ago.
Very good.
Maybe I'll write a book about it. Maybe it'll be a movie.
That was pretty cool.
I like it. It is like a dystopian Mad Max world. It was a dystopian world too.
I gathered from the context of the pig at the beginning.
It sounds like one of those sleepless nights, like those feelings of next day you were tired. Or
Yeah,
not?
I was exhausted. Yeah, it was after as well. I'd been to that thing that Molly and Casper put on, the Pearl Vana.
Yeah,
and I drank quite a lot of Coca-Colas and lemon lime bitters, and I was. Yeah, maybe the sugar was coursing through my veins and putting me on some sort of weird.
Which one were your
high.
favorite 90s songs?
Well, I actually heard some songs that I didn't know and hadn't heard before, which was kind of cool. And even Andrew was like, "Oh, I haven't heard these ones before," and I was like, "Oh," and I hadn't heard them at all. You know,
Were they originals?
Yeah. It was a DJ set. Yeah. But what did I like the most? I liked to tell you the honest, I don't know if I should say this. They had before it started, he had a warm up set, and it played like Portishead and Radiohead and stuff like that, and that was actually probably my favourite, because I'm not really into 90s rock so much. That was actually my favourite part, but probably Alice in Chains. That was some cool Alice in Chains songs.
Do you like Alice in Chains Unplugged?
Yes,
that's the only album I heard for years because I was the youngest. I didn't get to choose the music for years. But yeah, good singers, great guitarists, and so good live.
Yeah.
We got a comment from Obi-Wan Kachacha. I think it's Charlie. So, the boot camp is an easy to say we do something. Boot camp is an ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. What would the barrier be at the top? Learning, caring, and aroha. Did I miss something here?
No, he's saying what would the barrier be at the top if the boot camp is the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff? What was the barrier was learning, caring, and aroha.
Aroha means love for those that are not Kiwi.
That's very informative. Like, it did right. That's what he's saying. Like, the education is the barrier at the top, isn't it? You know, like learning those things. The learning and caring and love.
I would say the emergency services and counsellors and whatnot would be the barrier. Surely education. Get off the bloody cliff. Start doing something in more neutral. You know, give yourself more options where you're not sitting near a precipice anywhere. You know, if you're near a cliff needing a barrier, there's still shit going on. There you go. I'm just going to pull that analogy and zoom out. Get off a cliff. Get off the hill.
Just get in the middle of a field where it's boring.
Yeah, man.
How boring can it be in the middle of a field? Can you still break a bone?
Boredom is a choice.
Sprain a wrist or something?
Boredom's a choice. I'd love to sit in a field. Hours.
That was trying to be a segue into your stupid hand injury.
Oh, fuck's sake.
In the middle of a field, bored?
Damn.
I'm guessing you were bored considering it was cricket. Tell us what happened.
All right, there's a cricket league in the Coromandel, and
I've regretted already. Don't worry about it.
Barracudas. One of the teams from Thames has an ex-black cap in it. Brent Arnell, good test bowler, good guy, played first cricket for a long time. He's 43, so he's retired from the professional sport. And obviously, as a bowler, he doesn't bowl in our division because you just don't have someone that's at the elite level doing that sort of thing. But a good batter.
How fast does cricket bowl?
The people at the top in the elite would be 150 Ks, and that's the top elite, maybe 10 in the world type thing. You get 100 people probably do it in the 140s comfortably, consistently and accurately. Yeah. But again, speed's not everything.
So he might be, as a retired black cap, he might be bowling in the 120, 130.
I'd imagine 120. Again, I think running, he looks very fit.
I couldn't hit something travelling 120 K, that's for sure.
Oh, a car, if it came and hit you, it'd hit you easy.
No, I couldn't hit
You're a big target.
Yeah. Oh.
But yeah, so anyway, it was raining. Obviously, we had thunderstorms and whatnot, so we played in as much of the rain as we could.
Did you have people run out with the covers and stuff?
No, not locally. Plus, we artificial pitches. There's no grass to get wet. Although when the ball was bowling, it did splash. Yeah. Anyway, the moral of the story is it was a very good game, high quality performance, and I dropped a catch that maybe would have let us win the match, and I didn't, and I'll live with that regret for the rest of my life. So thank you, Brett, for bringing it up.
That's right, and you hurt your hand trying to catch it.
Diving forward, right on the ground, just fingers went into the ground and the ball together, and just slipped out.
Fatality. You will live with that with the rest of your life. My boss Rodney still talks about a catch that he caught. I think he was over the boundary when he caught it or something like that. He still talks about it now, and he's 40, and that happened at school.
Nice.
So you probably talk about that with your grandchildren.
I had a 6 onto the roof of a building, and it was the first time my wife had come to watch me play cricket. First ball hit the ball onto a roof. And she was like, "Oh, this is great." I got out 2 balls later, but still,
she married you because of it.
I think we were married. Cricket was not one of our dating strong points.
Yeah, I can imagine. Wow.
Is it a place to take your partner, your girlfriend, to watch a cricket game?
The family came for the last 40 odd minutes. The ground's actually in Pawanui, Kennedy Park. It's beautiful, big trees all around it, big sort of oval. There's banks to sit on. We didn't have much of a crowd, maybe 10 extras. Lots of kids there that came on at the end and started.
10, did you say?
Sorry?
10.
Yeah, maybe 10. So, the population of Pawanui in the middle of the week type.
Everyone was from Pawanui was there.
the village market ran. But again, it's such a beautiful ground. I'd love to play there more and more often. Plus, Pawanui is quite neutral, I would say, between Thames and Whiti. But we got nice grounds in
They
Whiti.
should be hosting all of them, you reckon?
It was just really nice. Ignore the storm and the rain and the thunder and lightning. It was beautiful.
Does Coromandel have a cricket team?
Coromandel, I believe they do. I think Thames has 2. I think Tairua has 2. Pawanui is one of the teams. Whangamata have a team. Waihi. Yeah.
Do you play all of them?
I think there's a northeast coast round, and then like a southwest coast.
That's too much cricket.
Do you want to read it? Rodney is watching, and he says, "Great catch it was." So it's a
it was a great catch. It was just over the outside of the boundary, I think. Yeah. So you'll be thinking about it for a long.
I actually bowled because I bowled to him because as an elite bowler for New Zealand, he's obviously gone through 20 years of high performance sport training. So these guys are fit and active and athletic. I bowled to him. I think he hit me for 1 run. He missed it a few times. I bowled a Yorker at his feet once. So it was just fun. But regardless of who he was, they were a really nice team, really good blokes, really fun. I think I sent a message to our manager, coach, captain at the end, just going, "Well done.
Number?
Last couple of years of cricket in Whiti, and the Coromandel has been amazing."
Can you intentionally bowl a Yorker?
Can I?
Yes.
I feel like
you
I
just
can,
bowled a Yorker at his feet. I was just wondering whether you can intentionally do that. I couldn't.
I think I can bowl a fuller ball, and that could be a low full toss or it could be a Yorker. I don't practice 5 days a week like a professional would have to do in some way.
Yeah, fair enough.
When you talk to your father, does he tell like the same stories as he would every time?
He does kind of. Yeah, he does. Yeah, I'm far worse than him for telling the same stories over and over again. But I probably got it off him. His stories though, like. He talks a lot more now as an adult than he did when. I mean, he was always been an adult when but like now that I'm an adult, he talks a lot more now. So we sort of we hear the stories a lot more. With
I'm feeling that with my father because obviously we don't talk that much, but every time that we do, he gets caught up in telling the same stories. So now I'm practicing because now I see a lot of friends losing their fathers and it becomes a thing. Like they say, "Oh, dad, oh, father," and then I'm like, okay, let me try to get the best out of my father while he's around, you know, like, so I'm working on interrupting him in a nice way that I ask questions, and then the conversation gets so much better because I take him back to places.
Yeah.
You know, like, so last night, it was one of those rare moments that I had like a little bit of time to talk to him. And then he started with a same old story. And then I was like, Dad, when you like, can you tell me how it was your journey with like starting a business and stuff? And then, you know, like, it was one of those moments that I took him to a completely new place in his brain. And then he brought a lot of new stories. And I really enjoyed that. So I was thinking, I'm like, oh, okay, I think it's a way for us to validate older people as well, because it feels like sometimes we don't give much of a fuck, because it is annoying when they repeat the same story every now and then.
Yeah.
But it's just our ability to maybe guide that, right?
Just to guide it back to cricket. My wife's grandfather, Fred, 94 years old, I think now, 93, 94.
Yeah.
He's just awesome. I love him. He's such a cool guy. And he once played a game at high school because he knew someone and they needed players. He was a rugby player his whole life. And so he was got a story about, I came in and played this game and was the last person out, and I just swung as hard as I could and he hit a few boundaries. And he's probably told me this story now. And then he got invited back to the next game and did bugger all. And that was the end of his cricketing career, 90 years later. And I love hearing the story. I've heard it at least 10 times. And it's such a nice story, and it's so nice seeing him in the space. I don't interrupt. Occasionally, he'll say something different, or he'll add an extra detail than before, or he won't, and I'll remind him, and it will spark it again. But I enjoy that. I don't want to interrupt him because he's 94. That's his story, and because we watch cricket together when we go down to Parliament.
94, man.
Oh yeah, he's so fit. He's just such a great man. I love Fred.
Does he play cricket with you?
No, we watch it together. So we'll sit down and watch, the Boxing Day Test match, and we'll sit there for 5 hours just talking, and the story will come up every year, and it's just, I love it. Because then his great grandkids, my wife's cousins and nephews and whatever, cousins I should say, I'll play cricket with them for 3 or 4 hours. So all these young kids will all play cricket together, and he'll be able to watch and through the window. It's just, love old people. They're great. Let them tell their stories.
I'm glad someone likes
and enjoy it.
Are you ready for a question?
Nah, yeah, man.
I actually was thinking about that, so I'm glad Iamon put the question, because you said, get off the cliff, man. So Iamon is saying, so how would someone troubled or having behavioral, social, or other high-end or complex needs get off the metaphorical cliff?
Again, I'm not the world's expert.
No, I'm joking. So carry on, sorry.
You're actually pretty well in tune there. It wasn't bad.
Sorry.
I don't know. I mean, there's too many things to it. I think health is a big thing. Preemptive health, having the ability to keep fit, eat healthy foods, earn a living, get trained, education. There's so many facets to it.
Most of the troubled kids don't have access to that, right?
Well, again, we have a school system that should be catering for its people in its community, whether it be through food. If the kids need food, they get fed. If they need space for themselves, they should get space. If they need to get fit, they should be able to get fit. If they don't know how to read, we should be able to help them read. Again, there's a lot of pressure put on education to make sure we should be doing this. Why is my kid going through and they can't read? Well, yes, there's other parts of their life too. But is there something to it? Can we make it better? Can we improve?
Yeah, because it feels like you just pointed the problems. You actually didn't give
solutions.
Yeah, like we know.
Don't you have all the solutions?
Bro, I got every solution. My solution is to go to the experts and go, hey, look, get off anyone's high horse. Where's the money? Put the money where it's needed. Triple the money for all schools.
What if Labor's spending all the money in unfounded areas? I've got nothing against Labor, by the way. I voted for them last time. I'm just saying that's the narrative at the moment.
I don't know.
We have a lack of money, though, don't we? It's a pretty big problem.
Do you think there's a lack of money, Brett, or is just a lack of like a bad distribution of money?
I feel
billionaires keep getting richer.
No, but government money I'm talking about, though. Like as governments change, there's always cuts here and cuts there, depending on what they want, And I feel like for example, I would be happy to pay out of my wage, and I'm not like making 6 figures or nothing. I'd be happy to pay another 2 or 3% in tax to get free dental and more money going to the health sector and psychology and therapy and,
so if you could
things.
allocate tax, if you could allocate the 3%, is that something you're taxed generally, and you could volunteer to be 2% taxed, and you get to choose, kind of like investment. You're investing.
That's where I'd put all of mine into the health sector. I'd be like, it would be to pay doctors, nurses, psychologists, therapists,
but also to pay for more services, so more buildings, more ambulances that can then be staffed by these more people that are paid more.
Well, we need more people just in general, don't we? Like there's shortages in all those areas.
But Brett, because you kind of excluded my point straight away, like of
I probably wasn't listening.
The billionaire not being a problem.
Oh no, I'm not saying the billionaire is not a problem. I'm just saying these areas can only be, in New Zealand at least anyway, can only be attended to by a government, right?
There's the interesting thing that
unless you're a philanthropist. Yeah.
Philanthropic.
Like if it was up to me, I'm saying I'm happy for me to take that. I mean, like that would be, I don't know what that would be, $30 a week or something.
But for you to be able to give that, you can give from goodwill, or it has to be a legislation that makes that 2% the same for everybody. And for a lot of people, those 2% mean a lot.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, it's not that much, because if you have $1 billion, like just going back
I'm happy to tax the rich. Oh, fuck yeah.
So like, so that's what I mean. Like, I don't know. I feel like sometimes people blame the government too much because parties are corrupted, but like they miss the point that the reason why we have a government, it's actually to make the life of the people, when I say people, is everybody better. And then there's this thing of like, oh, we have to make it private because the private industries know better. And I'm like, they know better about profits. They don't know better about quality of life for big populations, right?
The argument, though, the argument is if on that same thing, is if you want to make it better for everybody, then you can't discriminate and go, well, I'm going to make it better for everybody, but I'm going to tax the rich more. That's what they go. That's not making it better for everybody, is it? It's making it worse for rich people and better for everyone else.
But then is one of those moments where comparison.
I'm happy for that, just for the record. I'm happy for them to be.
No, and that's good, because now
we'll take their money all day.
Now we're getting.
I couldn't give a shit.
Now we're digging, and I agree, but like
that's why I struggle to vote. Like, for example, if National moved over and were like, yeah, we'll tax some rich, we'll do some rich tax. Though I reckon that they would get way more votes, because a lot of their stuff, it's like, I like that. Will you tax the rich? No. Will you do something about like the environment around farming? No. Well, like if you just did these couple of things, you'd probably get way more people voting for you, because Labour has the same. It's like, well, I'm going to vote for them because I like the fact that they would be willing to tax the rich.
Just on that, can I jump this back into Amon's question, because I'm just thinking a bit more. Like in terms of having a government, we have clean water, housing regulation. That means people are
unless you live in
warmer.
that place that doesn't have clean water. But carry on.
Go on. But like we have systems in place, like we have a police force that protect people from people just walking into a house. Generally, there's some sort of law and order system that we need. There's some sort of water system that we need. There's structures in place that allow us to get food from one place to another, which we generally need. So to relate that to Eamon's question, what gets you away from that cliff? Well, what's pushing us up the cliff generally is the government provides the very bare necessities of life. So is it things like social isolation that are pushing people near the cliff? Is it lack of access to the right types of food, or the right money that'll be able to, or to the education money that gets you the right type of food to be healthy? Is that the stuff that's pushing people up these cliffs, that they're getting stressed by everything? So maybe what would get people, in terms of Amon, away from the cliff's edge is to target those things of, well, socially people are getting destroyed because kids are growing up from the age of, whenever you give them a phone, which some people seems to be 7 or 6 now, seems to be
5.
Or like less than the tablet, ignoring the tablet side, but the actual phone one, where the kids are looking at themselves and realizing they're not celebrities, because they also take photos, because the images sent from the world come back to them and they try and send it back, and they're not as pretty, they're not as tall, they're not as talented, not as handsome, not as everything. And that's the image that's sent back to them. You eliminate that window and you let a kid grow up and develop some resilience where they go out and stub a toe, scrape a leg, bang a head, break an arm, and they do all those things that come through it and they go, wow, I'm physically strong. I mean, is that the thing? Would that help? Get rid of social media pressure for kids, and then then you got to target parents.
I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if excluding things, if getting things out of reach will be the answer, because like we are in this transition moment of like our generation didn't grow up with something, and this new generation is growing up with something. So for us, it's kind of like, oh, get it out of them, you know. But like when your children become parents, like they will be the generation that grew up with those things. They will not even consider get cell phones out of their children unless it really damages us. Like in 10 years, like people have to lose their eyes or whatever. Something crazy happens that they say, whoa, get these screens out of us. But like, I think I don't want to call you old, but like, I feel like it's one of those things with old people of like trying to get what's happening with the generation now seeing as an issue. Like, do you think it's possible to get phones and screens out of teenagers and kids nowadays? Because that's what we do every day, all day.
As someone with teenagers, when they've been disciplined for something and I remove their technology from their lives, initially they will pack a fat shit about it, and then they adapt as humans do, and they are so much better behaved.
But do you think it would work if you say you're going to get it when you're 17 and they're 12?
Get your phone back.
Yeah.
I banned people, when I tell people this, they do think it's kind of harsh. I banned one of my kids one time for a year from technology, and that was a bit extreme, I have to admit. But they were fine, man. I don't know about saying, well, you're not going to have anything until you're 17, for example. I don't know. That's probably a tad unfair, because then they become this weird anomaly and with their friends and stuff, you know.
Well, the idea that at school,
I don't know,
Vodafone or Spark, all social media apps are free to use during daytime. And so kids can't use their smartphones for work at school. They can only go on social media. That to me is totally fucked. These kids are sitting there. What can they use their smartphone for? They can look at TikTok. They can look at Twitter or
TikTok should be
one of those things. Yeah. But that's all they can access on their phone during the day until they can get access to Wi-Fi. They might have downloaded games as well. But then if they could access games that would even, some of them play, like, I think that Among Us, I've never played it, but at least they play that together, and that's kind of cool, because they're sitting there sort of joshing each other, poking each other with elbows.
It's kind of a cool game.
I get that idea that they're socially doing it together, but
I think you're like 6 months behind the times.
I know. But there you go, Eamon. My first thing is get all Vodafone, get Telecom, Spark, whatever they are, or Vodafone's now becoming One, is that right?
Yeah.
Get rid of free social media during school time hours. Give them free social media from 4 till 8.
Yeah, 8
4
too
hours.
late. Yeah.
But, give it till 8, and then they can't use it before they go to bed. Their last thoughts are not, I'm shit, ugly, and horrible. Good night, world. And there's this time, like, again, it's just let the kids, give them free access to Google. I don't care about Google and the empire. Free access to Google. Okay, you got the world's websites and knowledge. Like, it's just
free Wikipedia.
Well, the whole idea is, like, schools, so many schools in New Zealand bring your own device. They bring a phone. They can't use it. The only thing they can use is social media. Well, we don't want that in schools, but it's bring your own device.
You should bring this up with a politician.
Well, surely I'm not the only person who's thought of this.
I've never heard of it.
Really?
No.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
You've heard it from me first.
Vote for Fabian.
No, I don't want to be voted for. Get someone who knows how to lead people and do that shit properly. But that should be an agenda. Get rid of free data when kids shouldn't be using social media. They're already surrounded by social humans.
But that's capitalism. That's how you sell stuff.
Billionaires. You're back.
I'm not back. I never left.
I don't know. Do we even have billionaires running that sort of thing anyway?
The biggest companies, the ones that
they run Vodafone or whatever.
It's like people.
New Zealand.
Man.
Well, Vodafone's just like, haven't they gone national? They've broken international ties. Is that right?
I've got no
idea. I'm actually enjoying listening.
I reckon the government should buy it.
more people talking about tax on sugar in New Zealand. Now it's a thing that people are bringing it up. And I'm like, oh, cool. After years of damaging.
Yeah.
They did that in Rarotonga.
They should, eh?
2015, a bottle of Coke was $7. Coke Zero, $3, $3.50. Like half the price to buy sugar-free drinks. That was 7 years
Fill
ago.
up with all the shit.
I don't like that either, but yeah.
But at least the idea was there. Sugar-full things, just because diabetes, almost every person on the island has lost half their teeth. And they're the fattest nation on earth.
Jesus.
Literally.
Can you say that?
When I got there, the newspaper article...
That's weightist.
Okay, the front page of
It's a
the
fact,
Cook
isn't it?
Island paper was Cook Island's no longer fattest nation. And they talked about it, went through, we're now second.
And
it went through all
New
the
Zealand is first.
No, it was somewhere in it was the States actually. And they went through and they did all this stuff.
Makes sense.
And then, about 4-6 months later, there was a review of that research. And it's like, error found in research, Cook Island's still number one.
Oh.
What needs to happen? And it was like So they took back SWAT number one, but it was just, they were celebrating not being first. They were celebrating being second. And there were signs up in the butchers.
Well, there is a saying, first the worst, second the best. That's how it works.
I remember that from primary. Yeah.
Third the golden princess. That was probably you all the time, I'm guessing.
No, I've never heard that. They never told me that. I was never there at the finish line to hear it. They abused me at the end.
I was always last.
I was the big kid. Yeah, I was last.
Nice,
So was
guys.
Leo was
Finish
big.
last.
Well, I don't know.
I wouldn't even start running. I was too big for that. So I would just like be waiting in the corner for the thing to finish. Brad, thanks so much for coming back, man. What a pleasure.
Well, you're welcome. It's
That
good
was
to be
fun.
back.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed this place.
I just want to finish with some words of being grateful and thankful for both of you and for our other co-hosts that came here for so long, Christine, Tepaya, Chloe, and now we're expanding, bringing new people because that was the plan from the beginning, to get a lot of cool guests in and then to really keep it as a community thing, to bring some of those guests
It's nice to see the fresh faces and
as
doing
co-hosts.
really well. Yeah, really
Thank
well.
you so much. We have...
Sick of watching the others.
I know, right? 1.8, 1.8K followers on YouTube, pretty much the same number on Facebook, 550 people on Instagram. We have more than 8,000 followers on TikTok, the Madhouse. A lot of shares of our shows, which is very important. So people are actually sharing our content. So a lot of those clips that we make from you guys and from our guests, they are becoming more and more popular.
Can I just talk about those clips? I went on YouTube on the TV just showing my sister. I didn't tell my family I was doing this. And it came up, I was like, I'm actually, like, you should do a podcast.
I'm actually
I am.
famous.
And so I went on YouTube and there's the whole...
Some of them are pretty
here's
popular.
the shows. And then I scrolled down and it's like, Altbays clips. And there's my face. Do you really need a gun? Yeah?
And what was your
gender
opinion?
means nothing to me. All these headlines like gender, guns, violence, and all these headlines. Who put my face next to that word?
Yeah,
Jesus.
so that's
like it.
that's how it works now. You know, like you create a clip.
Thanks, Taylor.
For us, it's like a teaser, but for most of people, that's what they consume, like very fast, short clips. You know, like, so that's the cool thing that our format allows us to use all these byproducts of a 1 hour and a half conversation. So we're just jumping on the...
They can't help it if you hate gender anyway. That's just the way you are. What?
Eloquent.
There will not be a clip,
Oh.
but it
You're
could
trying
be.
hard.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for the people at home watching us. Iamon,
Charlie, was it?
Charlie, yes, and Rodney for commenting. Thank you so much. As I said, now we're putting a new magazine out there in January. The name is Coromind. And if you want to be a supporter, if you want to advertise, if you want to write for the magazine, let us know. Get in touch. You can send an email to Altbays and we will direct you to the Coromind team, because we have a cool team working to make the magazine work. So that's cool.
Can you spell that, please? What was the name?
Coromind.
Oh, yeah.
Coromind. That's us. So
It's like Coromandel and Mind put together.
Okay, I was just...
Yeah, you got you. Cool.
Yep.
yeah.
No, I was just clarifying. Yeah. It's for accent.
Not to be confused with Morrow Mind, which is when you feel
How
like a
would you
chocolate
say
bar.
it, Brad? So I can
Oh, just the same way? Coro mind, yeah?
Coromind.
Yeah.
That's us.
No, because I didn't realize. Steve, I just wanted to know if it was spelled with a C or a K, because I was like koro, like I was just
Koro.
Yeah. It's Koromon.
Bro, can you stop taking from other people's cultures that are not your own?
I'm
We'll leave it
130.
there.
I'll see you on
I'm
Wednesday.
132nd Māori.
7 p.m. on Wednesday. Ciao.